So, Tennocon, right? I think I just want to say that this is like one of my favorite Tennocons ever. I guess that's why I'm making this, short, semi-scripted rambling of what I enjoyed from it. Because we didn't necessarily get any big earth-shattering reveals, right? We knew what 99 was gonna be since last year. We knew about Soulframe, all that stuff. But it's just the presentation, the execution of everything just looks so beyond the level of anything we've seen so far in Warframe. I think they hit it absolutely out of the park. So, congrats, DE. And, I'm gonna touch on this later, but I think it's safe to say that, Dark Sector fellas, we're so back, dude. We're so freaking back. But I suppose we should, talk about some of the other stuff first. I mean, it was a whole day of presentations leading up to Tenno Live, where they showed all the big stuff. Prime reveals were cool. Revenant Prime, I still haven't finished building base Revenant, even though I got him when it came out. I guess I should just wait in order to save some Forma, because it's gonna... he's coming back. Epitaph Prime, I mean, I think the Primer fellas are gonna really dig that. And, Zaku fellas, we'll get him next time. Don't worry, guys. It'll happen, eventually. I gotta say, though, I was absolutely devastated to hear that Nautilus is getting a Prime Sentinel version before Jin. I know Jin is supposed to be an Infested Sentinel, right? But that didn't stop Helios. Helios was a Corpus Sentinel, and they still gave that one a Prime without a second thought. So, where's Jin? When is Jin gonna be good again? I think it's gonna be good in the second part of the Companion 2.0 rework, which they also revealed. Thank God. I'm excited for that. I really liked the Bond mods and everything that they did with companion build crafting and stuff, so I'm excited to see them, go through and do more stuff with abilities and whatnot. As long as they don't touch, Smita Charm, I think we'll be good. The Caliban rework was teased. I have no idea what happens in this, very, very short, trailer, but I assume the Caliban enjoyers, all 12 of them, can pick up on some differences and buffs and stuff that's going on. I think it's cool that we're gonna be getting him for free. I guess that just means we're never gonna have to do, that means we're never gonna have to do Narb bounties, ever again, huh? Also, Caliban is getting one of the coldest deluxe skins of all time. I mean, have you seen that thing? Also, Soulframe, right? I gotta admit, I didn't really know what Soulframe's whole deal was to begin with, but after seeing more and more content about it, and, listening to the devs talk about it up on stage for an extended period of time, I'm kind of convinced, right? This idea of Studio Ghibli, sort of styled worlds, and the, was it Princess Mononoke? I don't know, I haven't watched it, but the sort of theming of, nature fighting against the forces of pollution and corruption. I also think it's gonna be interesting to see, right, taking a very Warframe system, right? Because they've got, what do they call them? Contracts with specific, entities that form your arm. And then that's the equivalent of a Warframe, and then you've got your melee weapon, and those gain levels, and they don't really get mods, but they get something sort of close. I'm interested to see another version of the system, right, that was built for Warframe, built from the ground up with 10 years of hindsight, Same thing for the combat system. I'm interested to see how they sort of, pull back from AoE Nuka-Palooza into, fine melee combat with parries, blocks, dodges, etc. Because it's not there yet, right? Combat's still a little janky, it's still kind of a little funky, but I think, that's what the Prelude is for, right? And, hey, speaking of the Prelude, it was only after they mentioned it, on stage, that the Prelude was happening that I bothered to, check my email, and I've been in the Prelude for, 2 weeks at this point. I did touch it, I picked it up, I played it. I can't show you any of it, though, but, I mean, come on. We all knew what the star of the show was gonna be this year, and boy howdy, did it not disappoint. And first of all, can I just say, an arcade, new mini-games? Did DE watch my hit video, the Ludoplex video by Zachmo on YouTube, and conclude that the only solution was to add more minigames? Probably not. They just probably realized that, you know, you can't really have an arcade set in the 90s without having at least some form of minigames. But we're getting new minigames, man! You know, look, all I'm saying, DE, give us the pinball machine and side-scrolling beat-em-up games that Amir was playing in the mall, and my soul is yours. But yeah, it is with absolute glee and joy in my heart that I can say, Dark Sector bros, we are so back. Now, I'm not gonna go crazy here and say, oh my god, guys, Major Rusalka was talking to someone named Victor! That's totally an intentional reference to Victor Sudek from Dark Sector! Even though it's absolutely true, and I believe it with 100% of my being, but I've got more convincing evidence than that, right? Like, first off, the fact that we're in a infested European, probably Eastern Bloc country? This is similar to Dark Sector. It's just in Dark Sector it was Lazria, right? The Lazrian government and all that, where the infested was taking place, Cold War shenanigans. This time around, in 1999, we're in, what is it called? Holvania. Which is, I mean, it sounds, you know, it sounds similar to Lazria. I think it's safe to say it's also an Eastern Bloc country, judging by the weaponry available to our friends here. I feel like, obviously, because of that, right, this isn't in the Dark Sector universe, right? It's a different city, the infestation seems different, the proto-frames aren't, you know, proto-Excalibur, and they're also called what they're called. Arthur is noted as, you know, Batch Excalibur. I think it's safe to say that we're looking at a reimagining of the Dark Sector universe, right? Because there are absolutely similarities here, and it's interesting to see, right, how the aesthetics of Dark Sector / Warframe has sort of changed over the years, right? I mean, just look at Major Rusalka, right? I think we've clearly jumped from the sort of Resident Evil-ness of Dark Sector into 1999, which is much more along the lines of, like, Metal Gear Rising, right? The Infested, of course, are back, and, you know, just like looking at Warframe and Dark Sector, the Infested in 1999 definitely seemed to be of a different type than the ones we're used to, although these ones seem, you know, mainly to go after technology, judging by the skibbity toilet, you know, TV man zombies. The Infestation's ability to affect, you know, programming and hardware is something that I don't think we've really had explored ever since the Jordas Golem incident. So it's definitely interesting, right, seeing the Infested spread through technology this time around. Then again, online, the new in-universe boy band from 1999 got turned into infested liches, so who knows? Maybe those things are actually people. I guess we'll just have to, you know, sort of wait to find out. Here's a big one, though. Ephron gas. Not Ephron gas. Ephron gas was basically your kryptonite in Dark Sector, right? It was a corrosive gas that all infested tissue was insanely weak to, that it would immediately start to break it down, right? Which made it an incredible weapon to use against the infested in Lazria, and also Hayden, because, you know, Warframes or Proto-Frame, whatever the hell Hayden is in Dark Sector, he's also infested, which means he's vulnerable to the same shit that hurts the zombies. I think the same thing is true here, right? Warframes are made of infested materials. Ephron gas is clearly something that has been used by, what are they called? The Scaldra, right? They're used by the Scaldra to fight the infestation. They're also used by the Scaldra then to fight Arthur and his team, because they're Warframes, they're infested, they're also vulnerable to the gas. Speaking of that, I was sort of confused about what the Scaldra's deal was at first, because, I mean, when you look at them initially, they definitely do not strike you as the military operations of an entire country, but I think that's exactly what they are. They are taking the role of the Lazrian military, right? Same as those, you know, weird, you know, mecha heavy troopers in Dark Sector. These are specialized anti-infestation troopers who have been deployed in Holvania to, you know, stop the spread of the infestation to whatever means. And so that's sort of interesting, right? Because we've got this, you know, we've got this three-way standoff between the military, the Infestation, and of course, what was Hayden Tenno, and which is now the Hex, Arthur, Owie, and all those fellows. And it's, interesting, right? Because that is very clearly a setting, a pre-established setting, even if it's been shifted around, right? The characters are different, the setting is different, but we've seen the themes before. What's interesting then is how we're arriving at this setting, right? Because 2 more pieces are being added to the playing board in whatever's going on in Holvania, right? First of all is our Warframe, our Tenno, somehow traveling back in time. I don't know how they're managing it. Maybe they're not? I don't know. Judging by the Whispers in the Walls quest, we might be just taking control of Arthur, but then there's also the scene where, our character, her Warframe talks to the people in the mall. I don't know. I'm just really starting to think about this now. I'm interested, though, right, in whatever happens and how that works, because there's 2 new pieces on the playing board, right? We've got Albrecht and Trotty and the Tenno, who are both arriving to 1999 from far off in the future, right? Like, post-Old War, basically, right? Or pre... I need to learn more about Albrecht and Trotty's deal. I guess that's what we'll find out as part of this, right? But it's interesting to see how, right, a familiar setting of Dark Sector, but not Dark Sector 1999, is getting shaken up by the addition of these people coming in from the past, and that's how we're introduced to it. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, that fight scene with the tank, with the heavy unit, where Arthur just picks up an inexplicably placed RPG and just starts going to town on that heavy unit, that was absolutely Dark Sector. That was Dark Sector, that was Gears of War, that was every, 2000s cover shooter right there with the vehicle section. There's also that poster, apparently, in the Holvania Mall, that has a character on it that looks very similar to Nadia from Dark Sector. Which, I mean, is cool. Nadia really got the short end of the stick in that story, personally, though. Like, you go from, Hayden being like, I'm gonna save you, and you kill the Nemesis, and she's like, oh, Hayden, you killed me, but it's okay, you need to stop the Doctor, and it's like, why didn't you say we needed to stop the Doctor? Look, it's in the past, I'm over it. I'm glad all the characters in 1999 we've seen so far have much better characterization and personality than Nadia from Dark Sector did. And, speaking of the Dark Sector squad, I think it's safe to say that we'll probably never be seeing any of those guys again, but that's okay. The stories of the Hex definitely seem to be running along the same tracks that Hayden Tenno's were. Besides, Tenno isn't, Hayden anymore. Tenno is us. It might not be our last name, but it's definitely our, our clade, our species. That's what our characters are. We're the Tenno now. And we're also catching the Hex well into their own story, I think it's safe to see. They've, fortified their position in this mall, they have operations. Arthur could have very well had a story very similar to Hayden's, and this is him after, having his hero's journey, finding his team of allies, and then, working to do something, right? All we know is he wants to get at Doctor and Trotty for something, to save the world, to stop the Y2K apocalypse. Who knows? And, let's be perfectly honest here. In terms of character progression and development, the only character out of Dark Sector who, changed at all was Hayden, and he probably got, 1.5 steps of character development done before he unceremoniously killed the final boss and just walked out of the game without saying another word. What mattered most to me about Dark Sector, the reason I think I enjoyed it so much, was the setting and the themes, right? And in terms of setting, I'm more than happy with what 1999's putting on the table. We're seeing a similar setting, but, drenched in, 90s aesthetics and, tech, fashion, wear, and all that, and, neon. I'm a really big fan of that. In terms of story themes, I don't know. I would be very happy if 1999 continued Dark Sector's, torch of, global government conspiracies and, the engine of war perpetually doing, continuing to churn because it needs to keep itself afloat, because that's the only way it can sustain itself, and it's just, I don't know. Maybe we'll see something like that, although with how, with Doctor and Trotty getting into the picture, I feel like we might be seeing a much more, fantastical and Warframe-y story and villain. But from what we've seen so far, with the Hex in, you know, the initial Tenolive trailer, as well as their proximity dialogue in the limited edition Holvania Mall that you can find on Earth, still around now, I think. No idea how long it's going to be around for. Check it out, it's pretty cool. From what we've seen from the characters in those settings, though, I'm really excited to see more of them. Like, not only am I excited to see more of them in this expansion, I'm really hoping that this expansion won't be the last we see of them as well, right? Because they're cool. They're Warframes, like us, technically. And this is sort of, it feels like some of the first real characterization we're starting to see from guys. You know, we saw like the Cavia. The Cavia was my favorite syndicate up until, you know, these guys popped out because of just, you know, how believable their stories and, like, you know, relationships were. And the Cavia, I don't think they're coming back ever. So at least I can hope that these guys will, right? We really have come a long way in terms of, you know, syndicate stories, from guy who lives in a cave 50 feet away from his ex-wife who believes he's dead, but he can't tell her he's not dead because that would disrupt the will of the Unum or whatever. Something that I've noticed, though, and something that I'm sort of curious to find out, does Warframe take place in our own universe? I sort of assumed that it just did, and it was so far in the future that it didn't really, you know, everything had changed to the point where it was unrecognizable. But now that 1999 is out, you know, in addition to taking place in Holvania, a country that does not exist, the writing and language is different, and there's also this thing where characters swear to soul. Like, Arthur says, something, I swear to soul. Like, it almost like it's, like, I swear to God or something, right? And I was like, huh, that's weird. Are they swearing to the solar system? The sol system? But no, because in Warframe, it's not the sol system. It's the origin system. So what is sol? That is what sort of made me think, okay, so we're in a split timeline, right? Because it's 1999, and obviously none of this stuff has happened in our world. Duh. But now the question that I have is just like, are we time traveling to get back to 1999? Or is the world of 99 also a separate reality? And if it's a separate reality, what does that mean about Dark Sector? And what the hell does it mean about the Excalibur proto-armor? Because I'm still confused about that, because it still acts like it's part of the Warframe universe. And look, we'll get answers. Probably, hopefully. But that's about all I got, you know? I'm excited for 1999. I'm excited for Soulframe. I'm excited to finally receive my AX52 in my mail when the Twitch drops finally start, you know, working again. I would really like to make a video about that, but, you know, I guess I'll just, you know, we'll hold on. We'll hold out hope. And, oh, right, Infested Liches too, you know? The Kuvahima, it's gonna be real! That you can see, there ain't no stopping me. The city's on 11, it's 2,000 degrees. Shoot, something big is coming. It's just the beginning. What the hell? Neon lights flicker, DJ spins the track. The boys are in sync and there's no turning back. There's no... Dang it!